Hi, my name is Fabiana Martinez and today I want to talk about chapters number 7 and 8 of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. First, the chapter 7, The Incident in the Window. The plot actions in this chapter, we can see Mr. Utterson and Mr. Enfield as they walking in London, and they talk about Mr. Hyde, who hasn't been seen again. While they are walking, they see the Dr. Jekyll's house, and they see him through the window. So they approach and offer to make him company. Dr. Jekyll accepts at first, but from one moment to another his attitude changes and he closes the window in the face to Mr. Utterson and his cousin. They are very surprised by their change of attitude, also leaves them thinking about this situation. But the only thing they can say is that God helped them. The characters in the chapter 7 are Dr. Jekyll. He is a doctor who lately, as it has been seen in the previous chapters, has isolated himself from his friends and seems to have a secret. In this chapter, he is locked in the house with a strange attitude. The second character is Mr. Utterson. He is a lawyer who has handled different cases. Now he is investigating Mr. Hyde and his friend Dr. Jekyll. So he is worried about the things that have happened. And the last character is Mr. Enfield. He is Mr. Utterson's cousin. He accompanies his cousin on walks and in front of the situation with Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde is very thoughtful. Now I am going to talk about my point of view. Well, my point of view in front of this chapter is that you can see the strength of the situation with Dr. Jekyll, whose loneliness, from my point of view, makes everything worse. I think that the author in the part where Dr. Jekyll closes the window want to give understand how the opportunities are presented, but it also goes away. I also think that it is an attitude of bipolarity when Dr. Jekyll is good with his friends, but then he comes back to close. I understand this action of part of Dr. Jekyll as a personal protection and for his friends from everything that is happening where he could be a threat. Now chapter 8, The Last Night. In this chapter we can see that Mr. Utterson is in his house when Poole arrives to tell him that he is very worried about his master. So he tells him that there is something wrong, something more strange than the isolation of Dr. Jekyll. So Mr. Utterson goes with him towards the house of Jekyll. They arrive at the house and Poole invites the lawyer to only listen to the voice that comes from the room. At that moment, a strange voice is heard. Mr. Utterson is surprised and Poole tells him the suspicions that he has. Poole thinks that someone has murdered Dr. Jekyll and that his killer is inside the room. Mr. Utterson is difficult to convince. He believes that Dr. Jekyll suddenly has ailments, but when the butler tells him about an experience he lived with his character, he believes him. The experience was that Dr. Jekyll was asking for medicines from the butler through notes. He left the room where he was locked and Poole could see it and could swear it was Mr. Hyde. So, to make sure it was happening, they decided to break down the door. When Mr. Utterson and Poole entered the room, it was too late. Mr. Hyde was dead. and there was no trace of Dr. Jekyll. So, with the help of the butler Mr. Utterson, began to investigate where the doctor could be. But they found nothing, only papers that had the name of Mr. Utterson. He took them with another document that Poole gave him to read them in his house. Before leaving, he told Poole that he would return before midnight to call the police. The characters in the chapter are Mr. Utterson, who is investigating the murder of Mr. Hyde and where is Dr. Jekyll. Poole is who goes by the lawyer and is worried about his master and the attitude he has taken. Mr. Hyde is the body that is inside the room. He committed suicide. And Dr. Jekyll, he in this chapter is the one who leaves some documents for the lawyer with a note. In my point of view, this chapter could be the beginning of the outcome of the story since one of the main characters died and the other is missing. But in the same way, is the opening of another great mystery, or perhaps another discovery. Another aspect that I could see in this chapter is the denial that Mr. Utterson has towards his friends, since he doesn't want to believe that his friend has a problem and looks for any excuse.